15 things you didn't know about labor unions. Hello, Aluxers. As you'd know if you've been with us for some time, we like to look at things from different perspectives. And of course, this applies to the world of work. As much as we encourage you to follow your dreams and create your empire, we simply can't forget those who work within an association to keep the gears oiled every day. Workers are entitled to inalienable rights, which are defended and protected in the first place by labor unions. So, let's find out some more about these often controversial associations. Number 1. Unions and unionists were outlawed until the late 19th century. Labor unions have existed for centuries, but only became legally accepted in the 1800s. Before then, anyone trying to unionize to get better working conditions could easily be sent to jail. As the saying goes, there's strength in numbers, and employers were terrified by that. It took almost 150 years before unions were made legal. But nowadays, some would rather they were still banned, which brings us to number 2. Amazon would prefer unions to still be outlawed. Amazon is doing its best to give their workers who want to join a union a hard time. In Alabama, employees are trying to create what would be the first Amazon labor union in the U.S. The firm has responded with strong anti-union propaganda. Jeff Bezos apparently scolded his executives in his farewell letter, reminding them that a company is nothing without its workers. Given that Bezos is leaving the company, though, it kind of feels a bit like passing the buck. Number 3. Anna Wintour's house was picketed. About 100 people from Condé Nast Publications protested in front of Anna Wintour's house in New York. At the cry of "Bosses wear Prada, workers get nada," protesters chose Wintour as a symbol of their 2-year-long contract negotiations with Condé Nast. They demanded fair pay, more job security, and better work-life balance. Wintour herself wasn't spotted, but her neighbors were seen handing out drinks to picketers. Number 4. Novak Djokovic tried to start his own union. Even high-paid athletes seem to have some complaints. In the summer of 2020, Novak Djokovic and a group of tennis players started the Professional Tennis Players Association. Taking the NBA as reference, the new group wanted to make sure top players can make a viable living. No, Aluxers, you're not the only ones to think it's a bit of a tantrum. High-profile figures like Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal chose not to support the PTPA. Also, women aren't that represented. Number 5. Right to unionize versus right to private property. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled in favor of a Californian packing company, reversing a decades-old state regulation that allowed unions to access farm property in order to organize workers, as long as they gave the company a heads up and visited during non-working hours. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled in favor of farmers, saying it was a violation of their constitutional rights. Private property is private property. Growers argue that with today's technology, farm workers can be reached by digital means. The workers' union disagrees, saying that these people are far less likely to have access to the internet and have a smartphone, let alone be using it. Number 6. Facebook. From best place to nightmare. Even the most innovative companies are seeing a rise in union activity. Facebook went from being one of the best places to work to a downright nightmare for anyone trying to improve the workers' conditions. Subcontracted cafeteria workers have voted to unionize at Facebook, where they were punished by their direct employer for that decision. And this is not the only high-tech company not really liking having to deal with unions. As you'll see in Number 7, challenging the massive power of Google. After the death of George Floyd, a Google engineer sent an email to colleagues to raise funds. Soon after, she was summoned into a meeting with Google's Human Relations Department. They were not happy with what she had done. This engineer and a few colleagues felt this to be a limitation of their freedom of thought and decided to form a labor union. They called it the Alphabet Workers Union. In their mission statement, they declared to fight not only for workers' rights, but also to ensure their company acts ethically. Number 8. Managers tend to withhold good news to preserve their bargaining power. Employers have learned to use subtle psychological techniques in order to not lose power over their employees. Apparently, workers are much more likely to leave the reins in the hands of their employers when things are going poorly. They trust and rely on the entrepreneurial skills of those who hired them, and even are willing to give up a part of their power to ensure that things get better. Often, however, the employer reveals the real and much rosier situation immediately after closing the deal in their favor, leaving the unions with a handful of flies. Number 9. Non-union workers lost more jobs than union workers in 2020. As they say, united we stand, and it's been proven during these months of the pandemic. Workers who are part of a trade union had less difficulty in keeping their jobs than non-registered colleagues. The bargaining strength of the group protected its members. What can be achieved together can sometimes remain out of reach for a single individual who moves independently. Number 10. Colombia is the most dangerous country in the world for trade unionists. A study by the United Nations Development Program warned that Colombia is one of the world's countries with the worst rates concerning freedom of association and labor rights. With a record of more than 2,800 killings of trade unionists and members between 1984 and 2011, it takes a lot of courage to fight for workers' rights there. Even former President Barack Obama and the European Union tried to help improving the situation, reportedly with very little result. Number 11. India's SEWA. The Self-Employed Women's Association counts for an impressive 1.6 million participating women, making it the largest organization of informal workers in the world and the largest nonprofit in India. The association promotes the rights of low-income, independently employed female workers. Since 1972, this union has supported independent Indian women entrepreneurs who take pride in being able to support their families with their own skills and strength. Number 12. There's a labor union even in the Vatican. It's the Association of Vatican Lay Workers, and it's the sole trade union in Vatican City. One of their main battles concerned the right for pensions for Vatican workers, which wasn't contemplated until the 1990s. Well, apparently even saints need someone to defend their rights. Number 13. Most Americans are pro-union, but don't belong to one. Over half of Americans say they would vote for a union at work, but only 11% of U.S. employees currently belong to one. This is mostly due to the fact that labor laws often remain stacked in favor of big business, making union battles often more lost causes. Recently, things seem to have changed though, which brings us to number 14. President Biden supports unions. President Biden tweeted, "Every American deserves the dignity and respect that comes with the right to union organize and collectively bargain. The policy of our government is to encourage union organizing, and employers should ensure their workers have free and fair choice to join a union." This is the first time an American president has so clearly leaned in favor of labor unions. The road to a more worker-friendly world seems a little bit smoother now. Number 15. Nelson Mandela largely based his politics on trade union principles. Nelson Mandela declared, "The kind of democracy that we all seek to build demands that we deepen and broaden the rights of all citizens. This includes a culture of workers' rights." Unlike so many leaders who rise to power with the support of organized labor, but then distance themselves from it, Mandela never broke that bond. He recognized the organization of workers as part of the freedom struggle and the formation of a just society. And with that, Aluxers, here we are at the end of our script. 15 things you didn't know about labor unions. We hope you enjoyed today's video and maybe learned something new. But before you go, you know we're holding on to a bonus for you. The largest trade union in the world is Chinese. It's perhaps no surprise the largest trade union in the world belongs to the country which, more than any other, is seeing its economy explode. The All-China Federation of Trade Unions counts for 302 million members, and it's the country's sole legally mandated trade union. The International Trade Union Confederation maintains that the ACFTU is not an independent union due to its unconditional support of the Chinese Communist Party. However, activists within the ACFTU dispute the claim, pointing to democratic elections and the presence of unions representatives at the high levels in Chinese companies as proof of the independence of the union itself. Thanks for spending some time with us today, Aluxers. Please leave us a like and don't forget to subscribe for more great content every day.